Have you ever woke up in the middle of a dream and the dream was so interesting that you wanted to go back to sleep to see the end of it? If so, what was the dream?
I learned I could fly, but I had to teach myself. Woke up right as I was gearing up for the big test to see how high I could go. Forced myself back to sleep, and let me tell you, flying in a dream is way too fucking fun.
Lol, I had a similar dream, but it had its weird mechanics. Like I couldn't just run and fly, I had to run, jump and kick out like I was laying down to fly, and I could control it by tilting myself forward or back. Lol. Anyways, I was showing my friends when they get angry cause they can't do it, so they start throwing rocks at me, so I start flying higher and higher to get away, but I panic cause I'm scared of heights and then I wake up. Best and one of the worst dreams cause I'm scared of heights. In my head I think I fell and died cause I couldn't remember how to lower myself.
Was exploring a jungle with a group of, I assume, friends. We ended up discovering some kind of temple, but it was dark, so we decided to set up camp. I was charged with gathering dry wood and leaves for the fire. While macheting my way through vines, I heard my name being screamed by one of the group members in a terrified way, repeatedly. Woke up to see my mom yelling my name and to get the fuck up already. I never found out what that temple was. Edit. I have never watched any adventure movies like Indiana Jones or Jumanji, nor have I played any Uncharted game.
This is going to sound crazy, but I had a dream exactly like that, and one of the people in the camp went missing. But it continued and we found out there were jaguars in the area.
I'm not joking about this at all. Same dream, and I've had it multiple times. We're exploring after finding the temple, I guess. It was always a very obviously ancient but important ruin that we had to explore. I get tasked with finding brush or twigs or dry wood. I'm walking around and I just hear the scariest shrill. I run and a man is there. He ties me to a barbecue/grill and asks me to pick a wall. I wake up. Edit. Almost every time I've had this dream, I've thought the scream was from my little sister, even though I show up and no one except the man and the grill and some wolves are there. Edit. I like people's interpretations that these are all dreams that might relate back to more nomadic or caveman times. But pick a war? I still wonder all the time what that could mean.
I dreamt that I was part of some Eastern European resistance movement who had to speak in code and hide out in abandoned manors in the forest to plan our attacks against some fascist regime. We enlisted the Pope to help us, but when we went to meet him, he has double-crossed us because the regime we were fighting somehow knew the Pope was gay and was going to tell everyone. I woke up then, not knowing if my resistance group was executed, or if we escaped somehow. I call it my gay Pope dream.
I had a nightmare a couple of years back, and I still remember some bits. I was in a city where there was an outbreak of a disease. Infected people would start leaking black stuff from their eyes and noses and attack non-infected people. For some reason, I was walking in a part of the city that was completely deserted a couple days after the outbreak. Very faintly I heard someone crying. I approached and found out that it came from a backyard. If I wanted to see who it was, I had to climb a high fence. When I walked into the backyard, I was fucking horrified. There was a crying little kid, like 3 years old, on a leash, tied to a pole. I didn't dare to approach, because that child was leaking milk stuff from the nose. I woke up after this, and was still horrified. The parents had to leave their child, who was still alive, chained to a pole outside. That fucked me up for a couple of days.
A long time ago, I had a dream that there were ghosts living in my family's garage. Nowhere else, just the garage. I somehow became friends with one, but she was unable to speak to me, leave the property that the house was on, and wasn't able to show any facial expressions that wouldn't be considered terrifying. Me and my ghost friend were playing on the house porch and two guys were trying to break into the house. She tried to stop them by scaring the living heck out of them by making a terrifying face and screaming the most blood-curdling scream ever right in their faces. I wasn't able to see the face she made, but I somehow knew it was there, and all I could hear was the scream. The people trying to rob the house ran off, but instead of celebrating, I curled up and started crying because of how terrifying the scream was. I absolutely loved that ghost, and I forgot that her whole purpose was to scare people, but she did it to protect me and the house. I still cried though, and she tried to cheer me up the best way she could. Then I woke up. I knew that was a dream, But I didn't want to leave my ghost friend alone, knowing the last time she saw me was when she scared me to tears by accident. I tried to go back to sleep, and I did, and I somehow successfully re-entered the dream, only it was several years in the future. The garage still had a couple of ghosts in it, but not nearly as much, and the rest seemed to be oblivious to humans. I was going into the attic and found some pictures in there of me around the age I was friends with a ghost, and on a picture I saw a very faint image of her face standing next to me. I went down the attic and woke up. I didn't get to tell the ghost that I forgive her or anything, and I still feel some sort of emotional attachment to her. It was probably the best nightmare I've ever had, and one of the dreams I've wanted to go back to the most, just so I can tell her that there are no hard feelings. Edit. Thanks for comments, everyone. I was just procrastinating and scrolling through Reddit and saw this post and thought, oh yeah, that happened to me once. I was seriously not thinking much of it and wasn't expecting this many people to be interested in it. This has made my day how many people have interest in this. Thanks. Another edit for good reasons. For y'all out there, this is about my dream where ghosts exist and one of them I became friends with. I appreciate the support in the comments, but please stop wishing/hoping that we meet in real life. A ghost is a ghost. I would feel physically ill if I saw a ghost, wholesome or not. Thank you for your time.
I once dreamt that all of my family and closest friends were on the world's largest cruise ship. Along the way, we somehow were exposed to radioactive waste that gave us all superpowers or other mutations. I remember so vividly being able to use my mind to move objects with ease, and I threw donuts at my brother, whose skin had turned as hard as stone. This one girl on the cruise that we all universally hated, for reasons I can't remember, received a really random and useless mutation. She grew a really fat lizard tail, like a leopard gecko who has eaten a lot. Lol. She was crying about how ugly she was now and all we could do was laugh. Then I woke up.
I have so many questions, lol.
I had a nightmare about being a teenage girl with a group of friends on bikes hiding from and hunting down a shadow monster that killed dogs, and we tracked it down to some abandoned house and tried to rescue the dogs, but one of the dogs started barking and I had to try and calm it down before the monster came and got us, and my friends screamed from another room but they do. Then I woke up and I will never know if those dogs survived.
Don't worry. They did.
I had one this morning. I'm a heavy sleeper, and whatever goes around me tends to get in my dreams. It's a curse at times, but this morning I had an Amber Alert at 3:30 a.m., and my dream went from being okay to my friends getting incinerated by a nuke. I was the only one that survived, but by the time I was about to leave the bunker to see the devastation, I woke up turning off the alert.
Oh boy, here we fucking go. I had this dream which I still remember vividly, even if I was 9 to 10 at the time. So, I was walking down the street and met my primary school teacher, a cute old lady with the driest humor ever. We talked for a bit and she invited me over to talk and drink some tea. I enter her house, she makes the tea and we sit in this area with 3 walls made out of bookcases. In between there were these 2 somewhat fancy chairs and a round low coffee table. We talked for a bit and she starts telling me how she brought me here for a good reason, and she just does some magic or presses a damn button or whatever and a wall opens exactly like in Dexter's laboratory. She invites me in, and I see all these people, doing a variety of stuff, people being tied to metal hospital tables, in tubes, whatever. Everything had this technology kind of blue, and I walked through this huge mall-like revolving door. I realized I fell asleep a bit after walking, so it must have had some kind of sedative or something. Anyway, I wake up, and in my fear I am tied to a metal table, without any skin. I can see my muscles, all of them, move, twitch and contract, all while I am fighting to break loose from the table. That teacher comes by and says to me in the lines of "Don't worry, it's all part of the procedure." I see other people around me, exactly in the same state. She releases me after a bit. She gives me this spandex dark blue suit and told me to wear it. After I put it on I could move like, somewhat of a superhero. I could run really fast, I could jump really high, I was very agile and nimble. She told me I am some sort of recruit and that she has a mission for me. After that I just remember teleporting to someplace by my home, with a gal that I knew by me as my duo, with the task to catch this black invisible morphing dog. I remember aiming at that thing with something, like this bulky black blaster, after which, I woke up. You can tell that my young me was very pissed for not being able to be a superhero.
Yep, well my mum and the family solicitor sent me in a rocket ship to the moon to get fluorescent green liquid injected into my brain with a very large syringe.
I had a dream that I had a bunch of birds and snakes just living in my kitchen. They were my pets, and I was cuddling my snakes on the couch, watching Netflix while my birds were chilling out, flying on top of my fridge and stuff. It was a great dream, and it was so vivid that when I was waking up, I thought, crap, I left my snakes on the couch out with the birds. I hope they didn't eat one of the birds. I was disappointed when I came back to my senses and there were no animals in my home, but relieved that I wasn't such a negligent pet owner that my imaginary snakes ate my imaginary birds.
This is also the opposite, but one time I had a dream that I was in my hometown airport, a pretty big one, when suddenly a shooting started happening down the terminal. I used to work at an airport, so I found the nearest worker and had them open the nearest door out onto the tarmac. We started evacuating people as the shooting came closer. Somehow I was the last person to go through the door. When I reached the tarmac, there wasn't a single person in sight. Even the noises from inside the airport had stopped. Up above me the clouds were blacker than night, and purple lightning was striking frequently. As I walked out into the middle of the tarmac staring into the heavens, airplanes started crashing down all around me very cinematically. Honestly, the sight took my breath away, and not in a good way. It was very dreadful and dramatic. I can still see it in my head if I focus. I woke up just as a 737 crashed right on top of me. I have a pretty crazy imagination.
My situation was a bit different. I was once having a pretty vivid nightmare about a zombie apocalypse. In the dream, I was running from a horde and I ducked into a random house. Time then passed, in the dream, and I put my head down to rest while I listened to growls coming from outside. At that exact second I woke up. I was relieved that it was just a dream because it seemed so real. However, about 10 minutes later I fell back to sleep and the dream actually resumed. I remember thinking, oh my god, this isn't a dream within the dream. The rest was even more vivid and terrifying because I was convinced it was real. That was a pretty tough night, but it was interesting how my dream managed to resume itself, and it did it in such a way that I was convinced the incident was actually happening. My small 10-minute wake-up period seemed like the dream.
The end of the world on a beach. I was getting ice cream for my family, when suddenly the sun went purple, started spinning and fell behind the horizon. All the sky followed, replaced by darkness. Gravity broke, we went down and couldn't move anymore. All the world around us started to flatten inexorably, slowly drifting towards the dark rift at the end. A voice started to call different names and people got sucked into the night. Suddenly it was my turn. I glided to the edge freaking out, and as I fell over the horizon, I realized I didn't have a body anymore. I was just a gaze traveling in space. It lasted a very long time. We passed all the beautiful planets and slowly left the solar system. Then we traveled across the galaxy and left it too. Somewhere far ahead, in the total darkness, faint lights started to appear. Stars and constellations I never saw before. I knew at this moment that they were waiting for us, and even if it takes forever, we will reach them. And once we do, all our questions will be answered. Finally we'll know what's out there and why we exist. We were getting closer and closer. Almost there, I could feel it won't be so long. And then my brain chose to wake up. I desperately thought, no, not now, just a moment more, but it was too late. The dream was gone. I was so pissed. Sometimes I think my own brain laughs at me.
I had this dream where I was some sort of undercover agent working for a secret agency. I did tens of assassinations of high-level target. I received a task where I have to kill some low-level target inside an office. I was suspicious, and as a precaution I took extra explosive and ammo. I sneaked into the building at night, cautiously proceed to the room where the target is working. Through the glass door I could see him working on his PC. I used a silenced pistol to eliminate him. After the assassination I was curious why I was sent to kill a low-level target, so I was snooping around in his computer and stumbled upon some rather interesting classified files which were linking the president of the country doing something which could destroy the whole country. Little did I know they were monitoring the PC and I was caught reading those files. There were backup agents set to kill the target if I am not able to. They were ordered to terminate me immediately. Before I could process the information, I started getting attacked by the other agents. 3 agents enter the room and I was behind the desk, so I removed the pin from a grenade and wall banged them. Now starts my quest to stop the president. Entering a heavily armed base to kill the president. The action scenes are beyond explanation. I reached the president's room. I threw a grenade in the room, somehow he managed to escape it and went outside the base. I followed him and people were running away from something and there was ash falling from the sky. A volcano was erupting and lava was flowing towards me. I see the president on a base on the volcano protected by some shield. I was jumping over the rocks being carried by lava to reach the president and then I woke up. I tried going back to sleep to see if I killed the president or not but was not able to. That was around 10 years back.
And you, people of YouTube, have you ever woke up in the middle of a dream and the dream was so interesting that you wanted to go back to sleep to see the end of it? If so, what was the dream? Tell us in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this.